Hello, and welcome to Health and Fitness Redefined. I'm your host, Anthony Amen. Joining me today is to take a dive into the world of health and fitness, where we learn to overcome adversity, to pick back versus fiction, and see health and fitness in a whole new light. Today, guys, we are bringing on an amazing guest today, somebody that's going to get you motivated to get started. That's kind of what I'm hoping. I'm putting so much pressure on her right now, but I want her to motivate all of your listeners right now to go to the gym, work a little harder, do a little more. So without further ado, let me welcome to the show, Tara. Tara, it's a pleasure to have you on today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Was that a nice big setup for you right there?
Yeah, well, motivation is like my middle name. We got this. You guys ready?
We're pumped. So first and foremost, what got you into the coaching realm?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, if this doesn't motivate you, I don't know what else will. But like, let's get into it because for me, the reason I'm a coach, this is not what I was gonna do with my life. I got into coaching in my early 30s. Had a degree in Spanish, had taught Spanish. That was going to be my whole life trajectory. And getting in shape, which started with weightlifting, because I ran marathons. I will say I ran marathons. I have since run the Boston Marathon. I was a big time runner for a long time, and I was not in good health, and I was not in good mental health. I thought I probably was, but I had no idea. I was not self aware. I was not empowered. I had no boundaries, all of that stuff. And I was overweight running marathons. And it was getting in the gym and weightlifting that changed my entire life. And so that is why I shifted directions completely and went ham on educating myself from some of the top coaches in the world. I mean, I went really crazy, and still to this day, it is like it consumes me. I'm obsessed. I love finding out deeper and deeper how changing your health can help transform your entire life. So I love to get into it with your people today.
I just want to put a point out, a conversation I had with somebody outside the show, but it blows my mind how many people that are fitness professionals, the first thing they always say is, "This isn't what I wanted to do growing up."
Mhm.
It's crazy how many people end up falling into
Mhm.
this industry and then end up changing so many lives and having such a big impact, because you would think from the outside that you were born to do this and that you've always wanted to, and that's why you work out in your shape, but it's never the case.
Mhm. Well, some of my favorite quotes are Leo Tolstoy's "Everyone thinks of changing the world, no one thinks of changing himself." And then that famous quote, "Healer, heal thy or physician, heal thyself, teacher, teach thyself." That's what happened to most of us. We had pain, we had suffering, and were able to be now living in a completely different reality that exceeded our wildest dreams of what life could be like. And it's pretty hard to not want to share that with others once you are experiencing what you didn't even know was possible. And for health, that's the thing is like I said, I was running my entire life. I thought I was healthy. I was not. I was still eating brownies and McDonald's and Taco Bell, but sometimes I had salads and but it wasn't actually there. And when I changed my health, which started with weightlifting, I was trying to build muscle, which then got me to transform my eating habits dramatically. And when that happened, it led to what I call an accidental personal awakening. I mean, I completely changed my life. And so, yeah, like when you experience something like that, you start if you have that kind of mind, you start to draw the dots. You're like, what happened here? How did this happen? And how can I help other people get out of the muck and into this? And so that's how it starts for a lot of us.
I love it. This is why I love being in this field and love having fitness professionals on, because it's so much different and so much more energy that brings to it, which kind of leads me to really my first question. I think something I really want to target into is the motivation aspect of it. And I didn't tell you this pre-show, but I'm going to tell you first a personal belief, and then I want to get into ways to kind of come back to this. So, personal belief of mine is that most people, it takes a tragedy to start working out. It takes a tragedy to become a personal trainer. It takes something to even get started in the gym, and we refuse to start beforehand. I mean, myself included. So I'm not keeping myself out of this equation, but it takes until we can't to learn that we need to go in that gym to build our motivation to do. So, is that something you see as well? And if so, is there a way to approach those people that haven't had tragedies, but help get them to start anyway?
Yeah, it's such a great thought. And it's that kind of very popular quote that I'm paraphrasing of, when the pain of saying the same becomes greater than the pain of change, that's when you'll actually do it. And yeah, I do find that to be true. What's interesting about health is most people, from what I've learned from doing both health and mindset coaching at the same time with people, is when I used to only do health coaching, I had no idea really what was going on in someone's subconscious mind. It's like, that's interesting. They like start up and then they stop and then they start up and then they like lose it. And like, I'm starting to get these hints. And that's why I went into the mindset coaching, because I'm like, we're scratching the surface here. And then finding out, wow, the reason that female client keeps like binge eating every time she starts to lose weight is because she was raped 3 times, and it's triggering all of this fear in her of being attractive. Like, wow, that's really awesome to know and to be able to address and send her to the right resources and professionals who can help deeper with that stuff. And I definitely do that. But it's so when we get into a mindset, this is what I hear from people most of the time. I know what I need to do. I just need to do it. I just need someone to hold me accountable. I know I just need the right plan. If you can just tell me exactly what to do, I'll do it. And I'm just like, that is not it. That is not it. You can buy a plan that would completely work for you for like $10 on the internet if you actually did it, right? And so yeah, the real truth of it, the reason I'm explaining all that is because most people do have pain in regards to their relationship with their body. And they're really good at avoiding that. They're really good at like doing these intelligent little cover ups of like, I don't care or it doesn't matter. But if you really get to the root of it, they do care and it does matter and they do have pain around it. And sometimes, yes, it takes something so awful to happen in their life that all that pain comes bubbling to the surface, and sometimes they are acting in trauma response. I was that way. That was like a huge part of the beginning of my journey, was all my unhealed stuff, thinking I wasn't good enough in my marriage and I had to look better. And I speak about this openly. And that is what happened. But what's so cool about that is I actually don't think it's bad. I don't really believe in good and bad anymore, but I don't think it's bad for that to happen in someone's journey, because it may be the stimulus that they need to get deeper into what their soul actually needs, and then they can go through their emotional healing journey, right? But yeah, and then to answer the rest of your question, like, can someone get there from a place of love is basically what I hear you saying.
Yeah.
Like, instead of a place of fear of I'm not good enough and blah 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 blah, can someone get there from a place of love? Absolutely. That is what I'm operating out of now. And some of my clients are operating out of that place pretty early. They may come to me because they are in pain and they don't like the way they look or blah, blah, blah. But when we go through the mindset end of things and start really, really diving into how they talk to themselves, how they see themselves, how they relate to their bodies, like a big premise of my work is it's a basically doing inner child work with your body. So you're like treating your body like it's this very capable, incredible, intelligent child that sometimes needs help, sometimes needs nurturing, sometimes needs rest, needs nutrients, all that, and sometimes needs to see what it's capable of. And I believe in you, and like, let's go. You got this. I'm with you. And so, yes, I do think that you can start from either point. I just would say that 99.9% of people are not starting in a place of love. I would say they are starting in a place of not good enough, fear, need to be better. I mean, this is glamorized. I just saw a podcast clip when I logged into Instagram today from a very huge person in health, and they were glamorizing this guy who was saying like, I'm never finished, I'm never going to be satisfied, I'm never, basically saying I'm never going to be good enough. And they're like, yes. And it was literally a mindset. Like, his mindset is amazing. And I'm like, his mindset is trauma. His mindset is a trauma response. He had been obese before, now he's fit, and he's like, I'm never going to be good enough. I'm never going to become complacent. And this is how most people operate. The only motivational tool that they have ever experienced within themselves is to bludgeon themselves with you're still not good enough. You're still not good enough and you're still not good. Oh wow, you're a millionaire. Well, you could be making 10 million. Oh wow, you have a six pack. You still could be leaner. Oh, you ran a 4-minute mile. Well, you could have done 3:58. This is how most people relate to themselves. And so it takes a coach, a mentor, a guide, some deep work to help get people to the place where they see that there's another way that you can actually drive and create and actually like bring goodness to the world and yourself through love, through actual I am full and filled and I want what's best for me mentality. But most people, I mean, I don't know if I've ever gotten a client who came to me in that place ever. Just
Yeah,
being real.
that was a full-fledged answer for that question. You went really, really a lot deeper into that than I thought you would. So I do appreciate that as always. And you're right. A lot of it comes from a place of pain. Like, I don't know if you can hear my dog whining right now because she just needs me. But she's
That's
just
how our
so into
bodies
this
sound.
bed.
That's how our bodies sound when they're
Yeah,
suffering.
exactly. I'm just gonna go. That's my body screaming. No, and I couldn't agree more. It's the pain that's a driver of working out. Like, how many times are you in a set and you're pushing? And I mean, once in a while, like, for me now, it's 50-50. I'm very happy with where I am physically and health wise. But sometimes I dive into that pain workout and they're always twice as hard as that. All right, I'm just going to work out, get this done. So I see it even engulfed in our industry itself. Like, even as
Oh,
trainers, we're doing the same thing.
yeah, I'll be real. I don't really like to be associated with the fitness industry because most of the fitness industry, in my opinion, is operating out of scarcity, lack, not good enough, proving my value. I don't, when people are like, "Oh, you're a fitness coach," I'm like, ugh. Yeah, yeah, I do training and nutrition as part of what I do for a living, but I'm just being real. Like most of, especially online, what you're seeing in fitness is proving your value by trying to be good enough. And that's like I said, it's a part of the path for a lot of people, but there
Yeah.
is another place that you can get to. I still crush myself in my workouts. Like I love to see what I'm capable of. I am like a dog with my tongue hanging out of my mouth, like just freaking having fun and like, let's go, come on, you got this. I still push myself, but it's not from a because I've got to be better, because I've got to, I need to prove something. It's just, it is purely from a place of because I can and I want to, and this is fun. And I do think a lot of the fitness injury industry, I'm sorry, I know I'm sounding like cocky and arrogant saying this, but it's coming from the deepest place of truth of what I've learned over many years of very, very, very deep work on myself that I continue to do constantly. And it's that most people cover up scarcity mindset and not good enough with I'm just seeing what I'm capable of. But you can hear it in the nuances. I'm like, no, you're not. That sounds good. Your ego likes the way that sounds, but that is not what's happening. What's happening is I'm trying to prove to myself and to others that I'm now good enough by getting X result. And it does lead to this extremely results based way of thinking. I like to drop my clients back into the present moment. Of course, yes, the results are coming, but when they like hold this dangling carrot of then I'll be happy, then I'll be good enough. No, you won't, because that is your way of operation. Your everything is future focused, right? And so I think the fitness industry needs a major, major, major rehaul on how they are looking at themselves because we are leaders. When we have voices like this, there are people out there saying, okay, cool, they're fit and that's how they think. So I want to be like that too. And I have teenage kids and I see them taking in this kind of information. And I feel like I have to sit here and be like, that's not it. That kid is wounded. That kid is trying to prove his value, And so, anyway, I'm going on one of my tirades, but we really need to think about what actually is my motivation and being healthy. And you can kind of see it when people can't ever rest, they can't ever recover, they can't, they're taking steroids, they're doing all these things that are damaging their health, and it's like you got to take a real look at yourself and be honest with yourself. That's not a healthy mindset. And like I said, it's okay because we all have unhealthy mindsets all over the place, but in terms of getting to where we want to go in health, I just want to be a voice to say that there is another place you can operate from. You can operate from I love myself and I love my body so much that of course I want what's best for it. Of course I'm going to push myself and my weights workouts because that's healthy for my body. Of course I'm going to get good sleep or maybe intermittent fast or eat nutrient dense food because I want what's best for me because I love me. And quite frankly, I don't see most of social media fitness world operating from that place. I don't.
There's three different worlds in the fitness realm. There's Instagram model. This is me, skinny waist, big butt, taking steroids in their ass and ending up in the hospital for it. Sorry, that true story. So just saying how it is.
Wounded behaviors.
Wounded behaviors, like not healthy. This is just an
Right.
aesthetic look. There's this huge societal push right now. This is the opposite of our realm, which is it's okay to be obese.
Right.
That's another huge push.
I
And
call it
then you
fake
have
BS, fake BS self-love. That's fake
yeah,
BS self-love. It's not self-love. It's
and then there's the third aspect of it, which is kind of where you're coming from, is love yourself, but take it as I'm loving myself by making my body be optimal. That's
yeah,
how I'm showing how I care. Is I'm not going to one extreme and showing this is all about this my butt and doing things that aren't healthy on one side to I'm not going to eat shit and make my body be inefficient because I choose not to take care of myself and claim that I love myself.
yeah, yeah. This is the analogy I give, and I don't. When I say it's fake BS self-love, the body positivity movement and stuff, please know that I understand that it is a bridge, okay? Because a lot of people have spent, especially women, have spent so long hating themselves that it's kind of this pendulum swing of like it's a bridge, it's a step to getting there. But here's the example I like to give. My daughter, who's 17, and I were like having this conversation, and a long time ago, this is when she was like 13. She could even see this. She was like, the body positivity to movement to me looks like this, that like as if I had holes in my shoes and I needed new shoes really bad, and I was like, mom, can I get some new shoes? My shoes have holes all in them. And I'm like, no, Kinsey, I love you and your shoes just the way you are. You're perfect. That's kind of how I see it. That's not actually love. That's like covering up what actually needs to be addressed with this. That's why I say it's like fake BS self love, because true love, and that's the biggest thing, is I see we have a lot of confusion in our society about what love actually is. And the best way I can like model it for people is think of a really healthy mom, like a mom who is healthy in herself, and like how would she show up with her kids? So if her kid was sick, she wouldn't be like, oh gosh, thorn in my side, you're making this so inconvenient for me, I have to miss work. But that's one end of the spectrum, how people are with their bodies, right? If their body is the kid in that scenario, they're like that, like, oh, freaking knee, stupid knee, blah, it's always giving me issues, blah. Or looking at your belly fat, like, oh my gosh, gross, blah blah blah, like this very rejecting, abusive thing. And then there's like the pendulum swing of a mom, like I just gave the example of like, you're perfect just the way you are. And the kid's like, I'm feeling actually neglected because you're not actually addressing any of my needs and just covering it up and saying you love me, but I don't feel loved. And so if we replace the body with the kid in that scenario and we say, okay, when you're sick or you're hurting or something's wrong, I'm here for you. I will show up for you. I got you. I'm going to give you rest, nutrients, water, minerals, whatever you need, I'm here. And then on the other end of things, it's like, okay, let's take a bunch of belly fat, for example. Instead of, being like, I love you just the way you are. It's like, okay, well, yes, like that's like kind of like baseline, but the actual energy of love would be, what's going on? I'm here now. I'm listening, I'm paying attention. Like, what do you need? Like, is this actually an issue? Because some people, like, a certain level of body fat is not even an issue. It's okay. It's like, it doesn't have to, you don't have to look like some six-pack ab model. It's not optimal for most people. So it's just like, if it's a level to it's now this is damaging my health, true love is like, what do you need and how can I show up for you? And what do I need to know here? And I got you. And so that's the big problem with all of that, those kind of mindsets, is I think like we're not really sure in our society what love actually is, because psychology is like, I mean, we're just now starting to have a boom with psychology because of the internet. And so like we're still figuring out what love actually is as a society, So that's what I see as like the biggest
You
root of that
nailed that
problem.
on the head. I just want to clarify
Thanks.
that you pretty much really go home exactly where I wanted to get with it. And the kid analogy really set that up perfectly. And it's just so true how it's not a you have to be this model and be Miss
Right.
America. Like that's not what this is about. But it's the same thing as what if my 17-year-old kid picked up smoking? Am I
Right.
going to sit here and say,
That's
it's your body, it's all good, like everything's great? Like, no, you're going to
it's
end
not
up buried
honest.
in the ground.
Right. Right. It's not being honest, right? Out of a codependent fear of like not feeling love, right? So codependents like are dishonest people pleasers. They're dishonest because they're afraid that they might not have love, but they what they don't realize is they actually don't have actual love because of those patterns. So yeah, it's the same thing like being able to be honest with yourself is scary for people sometimes. So I have compassion on all of this, but I do like to bring it to light and talk about it because, it's not in a judgmental way. It's just there it could be you could be in such a more enjoyable energy with yourself, right? Instead of this
Life's just
avoidance.
better. Let me
Right.
just be clear. If you avoid both extremes of it, life is just
Right.
better. You feel better.
Yeah.
You
It
move more. You smile more. You laugh more.
right.
You're able to do more things in life. You can go for
Right.
walks with your spouse. You can take your kids
Right.
on roller coasters. Like life is just better.
Right. Yeah, and you don't have as much emotional turmoil stuff going on inside either because you actually took the time to deal with it and go through those crappy moments and be like, "Okay, I'm gonna be honest with myself here and I'm gonna do some work here." And on the other side of that is freedom and peace and like a calm mind and like not all of these emotional ups and downs, but obviously people can live their life however they choose to. I'm just one to say that I've lived on those extremes. I have lived and I'm if you're willing to dive in, like there's so much freedom. There's so much less reactive times or these emotional derailing things that kind of own you and now you're binging and you're like what's wrong with me and blah and like you can get past all that if you're willing to dive in and do the work on yourself.
I absolutely love it. And I want to talk about what you mentioned pre-show. You have four like things to take on, like
Yeah.
digestible for people. But before we get into that, I just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, F Squared Consulting. It is a company that Keith and myself came together to change the industry. So Keith is the finance guy. He's going to sit there, talk to you, say, hey, how do I get out of debt? How do I figure out if I just put money into a Roth IRA, a 401k? I have all these financial things going on in my life and I'm overwhelmed and confused. Do you even track your finances? Well, he's got all these trackers and stuff set up for you to set you up for financial freedom. And then we said, let's bring me into the equation. Let's bring in health. Let's bring in fitness. All things you hear us talk over and over and over again on this show. We're going to talk about your nutrition. We're going to talk about your exercise regime. We're going to talk about your motivation, making sure you're moving in the right direction, all with goal oriented steps, because you're going to get somebody who's owned multiple businesses and knows how it is to be an entrepreneur and balance everything else in your life and tie it all together. So we're taking fitness, we're taking finances, we're putting together your physical and financial freedom. So guys, go check us out. It's www.fitbodiesfatwallets.com. Again, it's F Squared Consulting at fitbodiesfatwallets.com. We're offering all podcast listeners 10% off our brand new company. Go check us out. Thank you so much for sponsoring us. So back into what we talked about. You got four takeaways. And I know you said you
Yeah.
like, these are my four things, Anthony, that I think everyone needs to have. So let's start with numero uno. What's number one?
All right. So yeah, like I mean, I love to talk about all of the mindset and energies and emotions and all that, but also I understand that some people want some like applicable something I can apply in my life in terms of health. So I'm going straight health habits here, and these are so important. Like when I the my like I said, my gateway to personal awakening and getting deeper into like my psychology and all that was through health and doing all this nitty-gritty stuff first. So the first one, there's four things. I'll just kind of list them out first and we can go in. Four things that I'm like, these are absolute game changers in your health if you can really get them locked on. And that's going to take time. That is going to take going into old patterns and going back into new patterns. And you're going to slip into old patterns and you're going back. So these are four that I'm like, man, if people can just get these on lock. One of them is a little iffy for everybody, but for most people to work. Okay. The first thing is sleep. And I know you hear that and you're like, meh, meh, like, let me turn my ears off, like, blah, 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 eat healthy food and sleep. It's just like, but listen, hear me out. Most people's sleep is a freaking disaster. Okay. And there's obviously a lot of caveats. Like, dive in. If you're having like massive sleep problems, you need some sort of coach or guide. I'm sure you have tried to figure it out. And if you're like just using sleeping medications to cover it up, like pharmaceutical medications, oh my gosh, if you can go into like a sleep specialist, naturopathic doctor, functional health, nutritionist, something like that, there's so much more going on inside of you that you don't have to be experiencing if you can resolve like what it is, like maybe low GABA, low serotonin, like there's deeper things going on. So sleep, what I mean by this, first of all, everybody's scrolling social media or on their devices. That is making you stay up so much later. It's not just the blue light. It is also the fact that you are mentally stimulated forever. Like you could just go on forever. So the getting your nighttime routine in place is where it's at with sleep. And the way I like to look at it, again, because I'm a mom, I've got 4 kids, is you're going to have to bedtime train yourself like a baby. So what do we know about babies? It's like you give them the bath at the same time with the same, like scented lavender, whatever. And then you sing them the same song, and then you read them the same book. And before you know it, their like eyes are closing because it's Pavlov effect. We are just babies that grew up. We operate exactly the same way. So if you can create a sleep routine that works for you, that doesn't involve scrolling on your phone or watching TV and all these things that are going to keep you up forever, your entire quality of life can start to change. Okay. And I'll leave the rest for like, yes, you want it cold in your room with blankets. You want a cold room, a dark room. If your mattress sucks and you're really uncomfortable, pain is a block for sleep. So I won't get into all the nitty gritty of like the actual sleep, but I'm telling you, the biggest problem that I see is like being able to go to bed. And for those of people who have anxiety, I understand. I dealt with this for so much of my life, like not being able to fall asleep. Part of the problem is that you are staying up really late and then you're sleeping in some days. And so your circadian rhythm is a mess. So now you're like really stocked up on sleep, and then you stay up late again, and then maybe you're sleep deprived, and then you sleep in again. And it's just, if you can just have a consistent wake up time and bedtime and really pattern that in, I promise any night owl in the world, because I was like the worst. I used to stay up to like 2 a.m, for a long period of my adult life. Like I am a night owl. If you can start having like come hell or high water, I wake up at this time and this is the time I start going to bed. Holy crap. Your health will improve so much. Your like weight loss will be so much easier. Your mental health will improve. So that's what I mean by sleep, is like really taking a look. Like most people, most adults, your sleep is a disaster. Our circadian rhythm is a disaster. And we've got to grow up and take this by the horns if we really want optimal health outcomes.
I'm
Okay.
just gonna say it. This is if I knew we were gonna get along. This morning, this is unprompted, by the way. I didn't know that was gonna be your first one diving into. I gave that same exact speech to a group of entrepreneurs.
Awesome.
They sat me down and they said, pick one thing. I said, sleep.
Right.
They just looked at me like, I was like, why is this? Yes, that guy's in a sleep person. But like, that was
I
the
know.
number one thing I spoke about. So love it. What's number 2?
Yeah. I would have said the same thing to entrepreneurs. And it's like, by the way, that caffeine that you're cranking at 8 p.m. and you're like, oh, I just metabolize quickly, yet I can't fall asleep till 3 o'clock, but I'm just a nighttime creative. It's like you're just BSing yourself all over the place, and you need to take a look at that. Okay. All right. Number 2, intermittent fasting. This is the one that I think there's some caveats, right? So if we have somebody with like adrenal fatigue or hypothyroidism, or their body's already kind of like in this like delicate place, intermittent fast, or they're going through menopause, and like it might be too much of a stress for some people. But for most people, oh my gosh, intermittent fasting is a way to offset all the issues that we're having from living in a world of food abundance and we barely have to move. So our bodies need anabolic time, mTOR, like where we like eat food and we're building and doing all those things. And we also need time to go into our AMPK are repair mode. So if you don't choose that this day and age, you're not really going to go into it that much because you could just get food delivered to your house. There's candy, there's snacks, there's everything, and you don't even really have to move that much. So if you want to mimic what our bodies were designed to do in nature, because if we lived outside in the woods, you would not just be eating Skittles and drinking soda and whatever all day and not moving. Like it's like you hungry, then get up and go get some, you know? So intermittent fasting, I like starting people with a 12-hour eating window and moving down to 8, and then ideally ending eating earlier. There's the biggest problem with intermittent fasting I see is people don't eat all day and then they're just like gorging at night before bed, and then they're going into sleep trying to digest food, and your body can't repair when it's digesting. So that's the second one.
I'm gonna add intermittent fasting because I need to do. I've been talking about doing a podcast on intermittent fasting for a long time, just specifically, but I don't want to waste too much time. My only point is, I don't know if I 100% agree with the science of intermittent fasting, but there's one aspect I love about it, and it's what you mentioned. It's we avoid just eating at stupid hours because
Right.
people have to set rules for themselves. Like we can't just tell ourselves like maybe I shouldn't eat Skittles at 9 p.m. at night. Like we have to have a rule like no eating because otherwise that's
Mhm.
all we're going to eat. Like I've never seen harm to being like, okay, I want a midnight snack. Let me have a carrot. So,
Yeah,
but we
yeah,
don't
yeah.
think like that. So that's why we need these
Right.
rules of intermittent fasting. So that's what one reason I will say I do like that approach over some other things because
Mhm.
it sets that boundaries of what are we eating late at night.
Yeah, I don't really like the mechanical, like, only eat between 12 and 8. Like, I don't live like that, and I don't recommend that. I just, uh, personally don't eat in the mornings. I go train, I wait till I get hungry and I eat, and then I just kinda eat whatever I want, but I'm just mindful to cut my eating off 2 to 3 hours before bed because then you're entering sleep in your repair process. It has nothing to do with, like, being lean or losing weight or anything. It is I want my body to be able to repair, my brain to be able to cleanse itself. So I want to enter sleep with the digestion pretty much done so I can do that. And then of course sometimes I can't,
So it
right? Life
relates
happens
back to
and that's
sleep,
okay.
showing how important number one is.
Right.
Just love
Right.
that. I just want to say it's so true. Don't eat for
Right.
3 hours before bed. It'll make a world of difference. All right, what's
Yes.
number three?
Okay. And number 3 is weightlifting.
Oh
It's
yeah.
just hits so many stones. It is like you wanna be insulin sensitive and have good blood sugar management, lift weights. You want to have less fatigue and tiredness throughout the day. Well, guess what? If you can deadlift 200 pounds, no problem, and do like 40 walking lunges with 80 pounds in your hands and like a high intensity interval circuit and no problem and squat and all this stuff, going around your house and going up and down the stairs and running to the store and squatting down to pick up stuff off the floor is literally nothing. So it also impacts heavily how much energy you have throughout the day because when you are stronger, the rest of life is easier. That is like, yeah, on the emotional side, but also physically. And then on top of
Hold
it,
on. Can I not bigger?
yeah, exactly. Because 'cause you've experienced it, like, those of us who know, we're like, "Yes," and then on top of it, like, you get all this neurotransmitter release, so you want the ultimate antidepressant. Every single feel-good neurotransmitter there is gets released through exercise, right? And then when you the more last thing is the more muscle you have, the more you become one of those annoying people who can eat whatever and not get fat because so much of your carbs that you're eating are going like, you're filling up your muscles and liver, and then you're dumping them out through exercise and you're filling them up again. And guess what? It's not going to when it's doing that fat stores. So it's like, I mean, there's so many benefits. I can't get into all of them because we're almost out of time, but weightlifting is the ultimate. And
We're just
then
gonna
the last,
go a big yes. All right,
yeah.
go ahead, number four.
And the last one is walking. So, as somebody who used to run all the marathons, oh, I was so obsessed for like 20 years of my life. All I have been doing for the last 2 to 3 years is just I walk for an hour, and when I say I walk, I walk. Like, I put the treadmill on a uphill thing and about as fast as I can go for an hour. I mean, that's kind of a workout, right? But I do that every day. I just work. It's like part of my little morning routine. I like check in with all my team and emails and all this kind of, my clients and all this stuff while I do that. And these four things that I just described have made it so that being strong and lean have started to feel effortless for me. Like, I'm like, I wish people could watch me day in and day out. Like, I'm not sitting there like trying so hard to like figure out all my food. I don't track my food. I don't care. I'm not perfect with food. I eat mostly good things because I want to be kind to my body and nurturing, and I know I need protein, and I've got the ropes, right? But walking, I mean, you get lymphatic flow, you get
Can
the
I just say
cardiovascular
something? I
boost.
just need to put this out there, and I'm sorry because it's so true. Yeah, I know you do. I know you do this. I just want you to say it live. When you're working out or you're walking, how much is your brain making connections in your day-to-day life and
Exactly.
stimulating you to do better in your job?
Exactly. I always say that. I'm like, one of my biggest motivations for working out is creativity. I'm in flow state. It's like ding, ding, ding,
Oh
ding, ding,
yeah.
ding, ding, ding. Ideas, epiphanies, ideas, epiphanies. So
I
yeah, you
have
get
my
that benefit
staff
too.
grab like have staff meetings while I'm working out. It's like they think it's ridiculous. I'm like, no, follow me while I'm working out. This is when the ideas come.
Totally. I mean, that's what Steve Jobs did, his walking meetings. It is a major creativity booster on top of so many other benefits. So those are my 4, like, pick one of those. Pick one, obviously, as you're like, I'm gonna fix my sleep routine and intermittent fast and weightlift and what, like, it's too much, you know. So pick one of those things if any of that spoke to you, and just really focus in on one of those for a while, pattern in new
Pick sleep.
habits. Yeah, pick sleep. Yep. It's so important. Yeah.
I love it, Tyler. Thank you. And I'm going to ask you the final 2 questions I ask everyone at the end of the show. The first one is, if you were to summarize this episode in 1 or 2 sentences, what would be your take-home message?
I would say loving yourself is taking care of yourself first and foremost, right? So kind of hitting all the body positive ways, the love, take care of yourself, take care of your body. You know, if you had a Maserati, how would you take care of it? Are you taking care? You better be taking care of your body better than you would a Maserati is a piece of junk compared to your body, right? And so it's
Couldn't
like
agree more.
loving yourself is taking care of yourself, big time. Yeah.
I love that. And then the second question, how can people find you, get a hold of you, give us all the good stuff?
Coach Tara Garrison. It's Tara on everything. Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook are like my more active platforms. And taragarrison.com is where you'll find my retreats, podcasts, app, coaching, programs, like all the things. taragarrison.com.
I love it. Tara, thank you for coming on. And thank you guys for listening to this week's episode of Health and Fitness Redefined. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button and join us next week as we dive deeper into this ever-changing field. And remember, fitness is medicine. Until next time.